let's take a look at a web page to calculate the midpoint between 2 points. And this is an algebra formula. Now I'm going to show you, I've been doing the web pages completely from scratch up to this point, but you can definitely reuse your code. So if you open up a HTML file that's similar, and then you do a file save as, make sure you change this save as type to all files. And I'll call this Midpoint Formula.html. I'm going to call this Midpoint Formula Example. And I'll calculate the midpoint. Now, down here, I'm going to need to bring in my points. So, let me go ahead and call this point 1. And I'll call this x1. Now, right beside it, I'm going to have my input. Actually, I'm going to put a comma in between them. And then I'll have my input type equals text. ID equals y1. Okay, then I'll have a closing parentheses here. And let me put a beginning parentheses over here to simulate a point. Then point 2, have beginning parentheses, then my input type equals text. ID equals x2, comma, and then input type equals text. ID equals y2, line break, and then get rid of those lines. I got my button, calculate, and this one will say calculate midpoint. Okay, now I want to return my answer here, and it's going to be in point form. So I'll have beginning parentheses, input type, I'll say AX1 from X value, comma, input type equals text, ID equals AX2. Well, up here then to calculate the midpoint, I'm going to say X1 val equals parse float, and then I want this to say x1. Y1 val equals parse float document dot get element by ID y1 dot value. Now these spaces I'm putting in here are optional. If you make it pleasing to the eye, you're going to find it easier to look at your code, figure out what's wrong with it. And this will be x2 dot value, and this will be y2 val equals parse float document dot get element by ID y2 dot value. Okay, now I want to calculate my answers, so I'm going to have AX1 val is equal to x1 val plus x2 val divided by 2. I call it A1 val. Why did I call it AX2? That should be AY1. Okay, so AY1 val equals x2 val, or no, wait a minute, y1 val plus y2 val divided by 2. Now I want to return those to the form, so I'll say document.getElement by ID AX1 for my answer, the X part, dot value equals AX1 val, and document dot get element by ID AY1 dot value is equal to Y1 val. There we go. And get rid of those. Excluding the fact I probably got my variable name screwed up. Let's see how that works. Now I gotta save it as Midpoint Formula, so I'll save this. Bring up my folder. Right click on Midpoint Formula and say open with Google Chrome. And you see I tried to simulate having parentheses around it for points. And then there's a comma in between the blanks, but my blanks are too big, but that's okay. I'll put 2 here, 4 here, 3 and 8. Click calculate. Now if I add together my x parts, 2 plus 3 is 5, 5 divided by 2 is 2.5, that's working. If I add together my y parts, 4 plus 8 is 12, 12 divided by 2 is 6, so that's working. Let me try to change the sizes a little bit, those are kind of horrible. If I can remember the syntax for size, probably size equals a number, 5. Put those in there. And right here, I guess. And right here. Then down in this one. Oops. And this one, same thing. And let's see if I just broke it. So refresh this. That looks better. 4, 2, 3, 3. Calculate, and yep, still correct. Now I could, with that, change this slightly so that the parentheses are bigger. So down here, where I got the input, I can put a big around my my beginning parentheses. Big there. Let's see what that looks like. Look like I changed it all. I must not have done it right. Big slash big. Yeah, it looks right. Maybe I didn't save it. Let's see. Where did D come from? Oh, okay. That did look bigger now, but not big enough. So let me put another big around that parentheses. And a closing big. So let's see what that looks like. Yeah, it looks a little bit better, doesn't it? Not great, but I could do another big. To another closing big. And let's see if that helps. A little bit better. Maybe too much. But EC can spend some time to get the format to look a little bit better. It's still not going to be great. Don't think this is like Word where you can get everything looking perfect. There I go. Come down here, put some bigs before that. And come over here. Put some bigs in front of that parentheses. And down here, put some bigs there. Same here. If I can see my closing parentheses, I don't see it here. I don't think I did put a closing parentheses there. Okay, that'll be closing parentheses. Okay, so now let me close those off with these. And so it'll occur right there after the closing parentheses. Here's another beginning parentheses, so I'll close those off. There it is. Close that off. Then down here, close that one. And then close off this one. Let's see what I have. I guess I didn't have a closing parentheses on that other one. So now if I refresh it, then okay, a little bit bigger, a little bit easier to see. Just to make sure I didn't break my code. Okay, that looks right. And that shows you an example of another example of function to calculate the midpoint formula from algebra.